I'm Milton Cohen. I'm the CEO here at Caring Closures, based in Denver, CCI for short. I'm joined on the Zoom today by Zach Molnar, our finance director, who'll be posting some items into the chat for you. Here at CCI, we are applying a long forgotten yet proven intervention of the past to solve healthcare epidemics of today, like the jumping right in, like the opioid epidemic. Which I'm sure you've all heard of. What you may not have heard is that sneaking pills a few at a time, or pilfering, is not just a leading source of diversion in multiple household and institutional settings, but it's the #1 source for teen drug abuse in the United States across all classes of drugs, and has been since 2012. Or alternatively, over here on the right, the resurgent pediatric poisoning epidemic, where every 8 minutes, a child goes to the ER here in the United States from a drug or supplement poisoning, a child 5 or younger. That's down from 9 minutes in 2020. And so these things are getting worse day by day. These epidemics cost our healthcare system billions of dollars annually. They cost our economy tens of billions of dollars annually. And literally all of them, both of them, can be solved really simply with pure access control. And the good news is we've seen this movie before, back in the late 60s and 70s. We had a massive epidemic here nationwide of children overdosing on aspirin. You see, aspirin is bitter to the taste, so kids wouldn't take it. Fast forward, the manufacturers flavored it like candy in response. And you can overdose on aspirin. So here in the United States, massive epidemic. We intervened with the child-resistant cap and closure, one of the most successful public health interventions of all time, proving access control as an intervention, generating a 45% reduction in U.S. child mortality. 45%, such an effective intervention that the entire world implemented this standard. Yet fast forward to today, 50 plus years later, the entire world has long forgotten this lesson in access control, and today simply sees everyday packaging right under our nose if they notice it at all. But here at CCI, at Caring Closures, we see an opportunity to update this intervention of the past and really apply it to the dangers and epidemics of today. And so we're starting with prescription drugs with our SafeRx line of locking prescription vials, pictured here on your screen in our teen-proof version, shown on the left, and in our coming child-proof version, shown on the right. 10,000 combinations in the former case, 100 combinations in the second. These are used by pharmacies behind the counter in filling prescriptions or dispensing medication. In the case of controlled substances with our teen-proof version today in market and growing, and for pediatric fatality risk medications in the case of our child-proof version shown there on the right. This SafeRx line has a very, very big opportunity, both domestically and globally. Here in the US, there's about a 700 million revenue opportunity for us in controlled substances alone, where we see reimbursement coming for a cross-section of drugs starting this year, and then ultimately all controlleds starting next year. In addition to that, in addition to controlleds, we also have a much larger opportunity in pediatric fatality risk medications in the prescription drug universe, about a $1.3 billion opportunity here domestically. All told, this is about a $2 billion opportunity domestically, and about $5 billion globally. That's not really ratable by population, but there's a simple explanation, and that is that we are 5% of the world's population here in the States, but we consume 80% of the world's controlled substances. And so great big opportunity for us in prescription vials alone with the SafeRx brand. Why us? Why is Caring Closures the company to do this? Well, the #1 success factor in my mind that this type of endeavor takes is grit and perseverance. And we have the personal conviction in the management team and our board and all of our people here with our mission alignment and focus. I have a personal story in my extended family around the opioid epidemic. I don't think anybody in the country is more than 1 or 2 degrees removed from this epidemic. It's been so deep and broad. And all of our people have a personal story where it's touched their family, an extended family member, a friend of the family, a neighbor, or otherwise. So we have the personal conviction to get this done, which I think is the most important success factor. We also have an incredible competitive position in the marketplace. Down at the bottom left of your screen, we have a 10x manufacturing cost advantage, a 6x workflow cost advantage behind the counter. Those are both protected by an extensive patent portfolio where we have 11 issued patents, 2 pending. We are the only product in the marketplace that was designed for the point of dispensing and that's economically suitable for the point of dispensing. We'll cover a little bit of that later. But it's important you don't take our word for this. You can take the market's word for all of this. On the right of your screen, you can see many of the awards that we've won over the past several years since our original launch, some media recognition, and then down at the bottom, some market traction. All of this has occurred pre-reimbursement. So since we launched in the fourth quarter of 21, we've had 50% plus quarter-on-quarter customer growth. We tripled healthcare revenue last year. We're on pace to quadruple it this year. We already have 80% of this year's entire budget either already in year-to-date sales or alternatively quoted in our pipeline. So just incredible growth pre-reimbursement. Here's a visual representation of that growth. You can see customer growth on the left and annual healthcare sales growth on the right. And we expect this rate of growth to increase substantially with reimbursement. This next slide shows some of our impact to date. I want to spend a minute here and say, despite the small market penetration we've had, this is such an effective intervention. We use this internal methodology to report on impact internally for cultural development and mission reinforcement with our team. It's undergoing third-party validation right now, and we expect to ultimately use it in external reporting to our stakeholders, most importantly, our customers, in terms of forming mission alignment and making sure that for all of them, it's bigger than just a bottle. You can see what we've saved the healthcare system so far and also our providers out there, importantly, in uncompensated care. 1 in 5 opioid abusers is uninsured today, so there is substantial uncompensated care with our providers out in the system. Reimbursement is coming this year, and by reimbursement, for those of you without a healthcare background or experience, it's where payers or PBMs will pay the pharmacies extra to fill in our vials, generating at the rates being tested today a 53% fill margin for the pharmacies. Give you a real life example, CVS there on the right of your screen, just for controlled substances alone would experience about a 600 million revenue bump, a little more than 300 million, obviously falling to the EBITDA line. We already have study results completed for medication-assisted treatment, or MAT drugs. That is driving Medicaid coverage commitment already, with several others in discussions. There'll be some more public announcements on this over the next couple of weeks. We also expect reimbursement for controlled substances within the next 12 to 15 months as additional trial results come out. You can see the timetable here. These are some of the really marquee names in U.S. healthcare in all the right testing environments. And so we expect to really catalyze growth of the business with reimbursement coming up here. Here's a little competitive landscape. This stack ranks us against our consumer product line competitors, meaning those that compete with us on Amazon or in U.S. retail as an off-the-shelf SKU. Based on the market factors here and the regulatory factors, none of these could compete with us at the point of dispensing. As a matter of fact, if a pharmacy used the next closest competitive product at the reimbursement rates being tested, they'd lose $4 a fill. With ours, they make that 53% positive fill margin. So we expect to really own this space as we create the market. Leadership and team here. So I have several exits in my background, both as a private equity investor in business services and healthcare services, but also as an operator. I'm joined on the board by Rob Falkenberg, 35 years in managed care. Most recently at United, he was United Healthcare of California's CEO in his last role there at United, one of the largest healthcare companies in the country. Chris Demos is a marquee name from U.S. Pharmacy. He grew up as a pharmacist and ran SuperValue Pharmacy before being tasked with running a business unit for McKesson, the largest pharmacy wholesaler here globally. Backed by a team that has just delivered incredible results for us. Pre-reimbursement, we're growing and adding to that with 3 open positions to really start and get reimbursement underway. Here are some financials we expect by 2027 in that top case, which is our management case, with very conservative coverage growth to get to around a little under 40 million in revenue and a little over 5 million in EBITDA. This has limited public payer coverage only in terms of market access. The bottom case reflects faster coverage growth and earlier controlled substance coverage. We're actually about a year ahead of our original expectation in getting to reimbursement. And so I do expect to be able to do better than this. The other thing that neither of these cases include is chain drug implementations. As soon as chain drug implementations start, we are going to blow these numbers away. In terms of exit, we expect to sell the SafeRx vial business with an exclusive license to use the IP solely in prescription vials. You can see the numbers here and some of the potential acquirers from the buyer universe on your screen. I'll keep us moving. We have an open bridge round right now. We have about 1 million in review right now. We may take another 1 million on top of that. But we do have a larger 10 million round in discussions already for this summer with some families that have been tracking us. We'd love to have you join us in this important mission. We have a great capital stack so far: pharmacy sector executives, healthcare and payer sector executives, social impact investors and funds, some smaller families and YPO colleagues of my own. You can see the bridge round terms on your screen. I want to just add one more thing before I open it up to questions, and that is our patent portfolio covers all caps and closures. So it's really a platform technology that ultimately we expect to replace a very strong and broad cross-section of the entire child-resistant cap and closure universe. Ultimately, we can license that, we think, onto about 10 billion units a year on a global basis. That can generate about $1 billion revenue at very, very high EBITDA margin and high levels of distributable cash flow. So a great opportunity here that ultimately could one day dwarf the opportunity with our SafeRx vial business. We'll launch into OTC drugs and supplements with this business once SafeRx is off and growing. OTC drugs and supplements, every 8 minutes a child goes to the ER here in the United States. We'll also focus on detergent pods, where every 36 minutes a child goes to the ER here in the United States. I want to finish just by saying that this is going to be one of the most visible interventions in U.S. healthcare of the last 50 years. One of the most visible interventions of the last 50 years. 10 years from now, however, I would expect that our cap and closure technology will be as ubiquitous as child-resistant caps and closures are today the world over. And if we're successful in doing that, we'll have saved tens of millions of our children and teenagers, of our kids out there. It's an incredibly important mission. I hope many of you will ask some great questions here and super appreciate you listening to the story. Thank you.
Hi, can you discuss how what's the economics of what you do and the markup on it?
Yeah, sure. So I'll just give you some scale math. So our models presume scale pricing of $1.25. We probably charge on average around $2 today to our customers in pharmacy. At scale, our average unit fully assembled landed cost US is about 45 cents. Ranging from 30 cents to 52.5 cents, depending on the size and materials cost of the vial. And so we're making great 65+% margin. The economics for the payers are very, very substantial based on the cost savings. We have health economics fully laid out in our in-depth deck and in the data room. And then pharmacies make about 53% at $4.50 a fill after accounting for both our vial cost and also the marginal labor cost behind the counter. Does that answer your question?
Sure. And the SafeRx, what's safe about it is that it's a programmable dispenser. Is that right?
Yeah, let me bring back an image for you right here and just walk you through. Oops, sorry, this animation is a little bit of a delay. There, so on your screen, you can see the vials. That vial on the left has a 4-digit combination and a 0 through 9 implementation around those gray rings that you see pictured. It's super simple the way that this works. You drop your script. I'll give you a retail setting as an example and describe that to you. You drop your script off at the pharmacy. They ask you what you want your PIN number to be. They store that 4-digit PIN number in the system in the patient notes field. And then every time you have a fill in their dispensing program, whether it's all controlled, Schedule II controlled, or MAT, whatever the program might be with that particular customer, they're filling the prescription in our vial using the PIN number from the system to encode the cap with your PIN number. And then it's just waiting in the bag just for pickup, just like you pick up a normal prescription today. Does that answer your question?
Right. And so so it's teen proof, et cetera, but it will only unlock at the periods of time that the pharmacist is prescribed, right? Is that correct?
No. There's no dosage window limitation on the vial. It's simply a locking mechanism on the cap enclosure itself.
So this means that if you're an adult and you've got some prescriptions on certain drugs, your teenager can't steal it unless they know the combination.
Exactly.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Great.
I think what you were referring to is the adherence market, and we do have a product planned for the adherence market, but we won't disclose that or launch that until we're well along with the SafeRx product line.
Yeah, I mean, I
great question.
Like one of the, many people here know that my partner is a doctor, and one of the problems with doctors is that people go doctor shopping for pharmaceuticals because they're drug addicts, and so I'm just wondering how you don't really handle that problem of the doctor shopping issue, right?
No, we just handle simple access control. The doctor shopping has been addressed from a regulatory perspective. It even in some states applies to veterinarians, which is important to do. Many states neglected to do that. But what most states have, I would say universally, just about all states, Missouri was the sole straggler, have implemented what's called prescription drug monitoring programs, or PDMPs.
Sure, yeah.
And the docs have to check them. The pharmacists have to check them before they write and before they fill, respectively, to make sure that
we have another question here. Hold on one second, John.
So Milton, I'm a happy investor in your company. What have you given thought to incorporating technology into the cap that would do counting?
Yes, absolutely.
Did you hear the question? The question is whether you would incorporate technology that does counting.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Marty, and thanks, John. I was able to hear you. We have looked at including that. That is cost prohibitive for the point of dispensing. However, it is an aftermarket solution that ultimately we would expect to provide, but we really need to focus on getting the dispensing business up and running and out of the gate and growing. The other thing, and going back to the prior question, is we do have a product that's scoped for the adherence market that we also believe is a category killer, like our vials today, that is literally about 1/10 of the cost of implementation of competitive products on the marketplace today, and can also be implemented at the point of dispensing as opposed to some type of aftermarket purchase for an in-home device of any kind. Those are $40 and up. We can implement it for less than $10 at the point of dispensing.
Can you talk about use of proceeds and logistics of what you're trying to do and et cetera? I mean, does the doctor prescribe your device, or does the pharmacist use it as a regular practice?
It's basically in a reimbursement environment. It'll be automatic at the point of dispensing, with opt-out provisions, for the arthritic or seniors, or people that don't necessarily have an issue. So basically, like child resistance is implemented today behind the counter, this would follow the same model. And then the first part of your question was use of proceeds.
Use of proceeds. Yeah.
I'm going to fast forward us to that bridge around slide. Yeah, here we go. So we don't have it on the slide here, but it's really reimbursement, investment, and growth. We have 3 different consulting engagements this year, along with some hiring to do. And all of that takes money and adds to burn. And so we, think of it as early stage growth capital is probably the best way to describe it. There's very little CapEx. That only comes with our child-proof development and release, which we expect to accelerate to 2025 with the 10 million round. I'll give you a feel for this from a 30,000 foot perspective. We had our original intention in terms of capital plan was 3 million in this bridge round and 5 million in the, call it the A round. But fast forward with reimbursement coming a lot sooner than expected, we've had interest in doing a 10 million round from some larger families whose minimum check size is 10 million. We have engaged in that dialogue because that extra $5 million enables us to accelerate the launch of our child-proof version from 2026 to 2025. And what that has the effect of bringing forward literally about half of 2028 revenue and EBITDA into 2027, which we estimated about a 200 million value creation delta. And so that gives you a feel for the different mechanics going on here with the potential different capitalization paths. Does that answer your question?